We're not using any of the monsters from, I called it Kyuranger, but it's actually Kyuranger. Hello there, heroes! I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to another Power Rangers Cosmic Fury episode review. It's been a while. Again, sure is taking me a while to review these 10 episodes. This time it's due to something that happened in my personal life. I'd really rather not go into it here, but if you are curious, I talked about it a little bit on Twitter, as well as in the next episode of my Super Mario Sunshine Let's Play over on Orange Ranger Plays, so stay tuned for that. On a happier note, the franchise crossed a threshold with significant personal meaning as we finally have an official Orange Ranger, as Fern became such by accidentally getting powered up by Solon while saving her. But how will Fern fit in as a Ranger? Oh yeah, there's also a planet in the gap, and not as much space as we might think. Let's spice things up by taking a look at the 7th episode of Cosmic Fury, Operation Seasoning.
Please make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you can see all of our videos.
Yeah, and make sure you got your notifications set up by hitting that little bell icon so you get notified whenever we post any brand new videos.
Right you.
What he said was that if you'd like to support the channel in any way financially, you can consider checking us out on Patreon or Ko-fi at OrangeRangerVideos.
Right you.
As to be expected with the introduction of a new Ranger, we have a new intro sequence. Not a whole lot of changes, a couple of team shots that now include Fern. Her introduction credit now includes her Ranger form. A little, I can't really call it a mistake, maybe more of an oversight, is that her credit comes right after Ions, and the gold energy and the orange energy are very similarly colored. The Rangers finally arrive at Earth, which seems mysteriously unguarded. You would think a couple of those squidrills would be up in orbit guarding the planet from space, but nothing. As the Rangers jokingly express nervousness about their task ahead, Zeta walks out having just woken up. The Rangers inform him that he slept the entire journey to Earth. While that was going on, Ion made them tacos, they took the tracker off of the Dragon Zord, no not that one, and Solon got all of the Scuttleworm goo out of her circuits. As she explains, to put a point on it, that alone took 14 hours. This is the kind of thing that always makes these scripts as long as they end up being, but I paused the episode to write while Zeta was getting some coffee and noticed a couple of things. Number one is that there was even a thermos with what I'm assuming was coffee. There's also a plate with 3 M&M chip cookies, which I wonder how they had any of the ingredients to make. And there was also a globe with thumbtacks shoved into various cities, a lot of them in North America, some of them in South America. Oh, would you look at that? The plainly visible prop is actually a plot point and is going to be explained. The globe is Operation Seasoning.
Roll credits.
The thumbtacks are the squidrills that are creating the anti-Zord field. I will say they seem to be patterned out rather efficiently over dry land. Of course, the Rangers have a Shark Zord, not to mention there are teams like Lightspeed Rescue that have bases and Zord bays in the water, but maybe they're just guarding their assets on dry land. The Zords can't come on to the dry land. Because I know this is interesting for some, and I know that you all realize that I would observe something like this, there are squidrills positioned over Montgomery, Alabama, Austin, Texas, somewhere in Southern California that we may as well just say is Pine Ridge, and a couple up in Canada that were a little harder for me to place. I'm pretty sure one is over Calgary, Alberta. The other, I'm really not sure. Based on where it was on the map, it's somewhere in Quebec. It's kind of near a town called Mistassini.
United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru.
The Rangers have a really good plan ready to go, and I really love the way that this was written. Via Zato's sleeping, which is clearly going to be its own plot point, we've skipped the formation of this plan, and now Zato acts as the audience surrogate for us to get caught up on it. Squillia Squidrill is positioned right over downtown Pine Ridge. Called it. And Tarek's spy is on board. They'll have their 2 Megazords waiting just outside the anti-Zord field. Waiting outside the field. Remember this. They send the signal, the spy sabotages the field on that Squidrill, which remember knocks it out entirely, and it's disabled and the Zords move in.
Let me give up. I'll be back for breakfast.
Wisely, a big part of this plan is freeing all of the other captured Rangers. Now, I'm not expecting to see them, Legendary Battle 2 or anything like that, but at least paying lip service to the fact that in order to pull this off, they're going to need to free the Ranger army, as it were, is important. So, Solon asks, do you get why it's called Operation Seasoning?
I get it.
I don't get it.
Zato says he does. I don't. Hobby represents the Megazords with salt and pepper shakers since they're near the kitchen, and when describing the plan, the Zord field goes down, he shakes salt and pepper all over the globe. Maybe they plan to pepper the evil forces with the Ranger army, or assault them with the Zords? No, I really don't get why it's called Operation Seasoning, which is a shame because it's also what they named the episode after. Zato does ask about the plate of cookies, but Ion says he just made those specifically for Zato to dunk in coffee. They're actually chocolate chunk with rainbow sprinkles, and Zato says they taste peppery. The scene ends on a little bit of a down note that I really wasn't fond of. Amelia humorously telling everybody, come on, let's go, summoning Zords in 5. It feels like a nod to actor humor. Come on, everybody, on set in 5. But this is a serious moment. They're about to go save the Earth, and I didn't really like the LOL nature to it. Then again, I am a grumpy old man, so let's continue. It was so freaking nice to see Fern as the Orange Ranger in the orange cockpit of the Orange Scorpion Zord. Ion asks how she's feeling for her first official Zord mission, Izzy adding that Fern's got this, and Fern says she just can't wait to push these buttons. More on that later. Amelia tells her dad to signal the spy. In what is surely an entirely coincidental cut, we head over to Squillia Squidrill, where Amwizo enters and is surprised to see no Sentinels, but that's because Heckle and the Squid Girl are having a moment. He's given her a giant, literally, voucher to have a spa day, saying that he'll hold things down there while she's off getting pampered. Amwizo engages in, shall we say, rooster obstruction, calling her leaving totally unprofessional. She hates him, but seems to admit that he has a point, reluctantly agreeing to stay. Getting the signal from Tarek, Heckle gives up on this plan altogether, summoning a large golden staff that he then bends into a giant boomerang. He then holds it up and calls out, "Unleash the power." He is then kind of sadly morphed into the Dino Charge Dark Ranger. Yes, heroes of my audience, Power Rangers has finally made good on what we saw as a massive mistake, not using the Dark Ranger suit that was provided by Kyoryuger's movie and making Heckle a Power Ranger. He gives a very abridged version of his backstory from another dimension. Yes. Another dimension was once very evil, but after a classic redemption arc, his words, he became a good egg. also his words, and eventually a Power Ranger. Now, there's something I'm keeping my eye on here. You might be wondering how Heckle became a Power Ranger. Well, we do have at least one version of that story. It is, and I cannot stress this strongly enough, the only good thing that came out of Beyond the Grid, Boom Studios' Power Rangers comic arc that followed Shattered Grid. The only good thing. Okay, I suppose that story had an Orange Ranger in it as well, so two good things. Heckle, I have missed your wit. When Squillia wonders out loud if this is what she changed her relationship status for, kind of a stinging line for me personally right now, Heckle says she shouldn't feel too bad. I do put the spy in Spinosaurus. You know something? I can be so nitpicky about the finer details of this franchise, I'm actually going to go ahead and call myself out for something that I was wrong about. Squillia catches Heckle's boomerang before it can hit the anti-Zord force field generator, saying she's got a different kind of crush on him now, wrapping him up in a tentacle. She sees him trying to reach his belt buckle and says, "Is that your communicator? Ditch the group chat," and squeezes him tighter to keep him from doing so. I was all prepared to say, no, that's the case where his dino chargers are kept, his communicator is on his wrist, except...
I was the wrong one!
The Dino Charge Rangers, in a rare bit of suit creativity I actually kind of forgot about until now, do wear their dino comms as belt buckles, and they do also hold the Dino Chargers like I said. That was a little finer detail that I, in this case, got wrong, and I didn't want to hide from that. I wanted to say sometimes I do get the finer details wrong. Like I said, I'm an old man, I forget things sometimes. What I can criticize is the Cosmic Fury Rangers wondering what's happening, Ion saying gravity is pulling us in, your Zord's thrusters are surely more powerful than Earth's gravity, and Amelia saying Earth needs them, they're heading in either way. The plan was to wait until the field fell before heading down to Earth. This is the definition of false drama. As the Zords plummet towards the Earth, Billy says that the way they're starting to come apart, spoilers, the Megazords never actually come apart, the anti-Zord field is still active. And Amelia says, to maintain course. I really cannot stress strongly enough how the plan was described as the two Megazords waiting outside the field until it was confirmed that it was down. But you can make this work. All you have to do to make this drama actually work is have the Rangers observe something that adds a ticking clock to everything where they can't wait. It's a little bit dark, but right off the top of my head, maybe they get word that a group of former Rangers is about to be executed. Now they can't wait. Now they have to get down to Earth right now, Zord field or no. Squillia's tentacle eventually demorphs Heckle and he passes out. They detect the two Megazords crashing to Earth and send forces to capture the Rangers. The Megazords crash to the ground, obviously taking out several buildings in the abandoned district. Seriously, they try to subvert this. There's a loudspeaker voice in the city announcing that loitering is punishable by jail without trial, so obviously that's why nobody was killed when the Megazords crashed to Earth.
That was easy.
Tarek sees this and teleports down with two Rapconian soldiers who aren't getting paid enough to show off their faces to see 5 of the Rangers get captured. I was going to say that Zato and Ion somehow ended up somewhere else until I remembered that those two were piloting the Cosmic Dragon Megazord, so that actually makes sense. Ion says that the Zords were badly damaged. Not that we can see that from the one angle of one of the Megazords that we get to see, but Zato says they can be repaired, using his staff to create a portal in the sky that sends the Zords back into the morphing grid. He is then clearly taxed by this. Tarek finds them and says,
"We're in a tight spot.
Tarek feels guilty that he wasn't a bigger part of this plan and is worried about Heckle if he wasn't able to pull off his part. Zato says that the Zords are self-repairing inside the morphing grid, and then he passes out. A patrol comes to investigate, well, really a single sentinel, and Tarek teleports them away. Solon comes to the secret base of the Resistance to work on Zato, who wakes up again. They realize that every time that Zato uses magic, he gets very tired and collapses. Zato tries to play this off, asking about the base instead, but Solon just quickly explains it's hidden on the far side of the moon. Ion returns to the matter at hand, asking Zato exactly how the Morphin Masters revived him via the grid. Zato says there wasn't really a debrief, which I thought was a cute way of saying there was no explanation. As far as he knows, the Masters just filled him up with their magic, which explains how he can use their magic. But they've basically turned him into a magical battery. Every time he uses that magic, there's less of it inside him, and it's not like the Masters are around for a recharge. Ion and Solon pin him down, metaphorically, and ask the big question. If he uses up all of the magic inside him, is he gone? Russell Curry plays this moment so well, conveying emotion without dialogue as he stares, thinks, and really feels the moment, and then sadly nods, confirming it. But enough of that tension, Pop Pop has arrived, and I think I smell some more crossover content. Pop Pop, under the guise of his handyman work, went and picked something up from Jenny Short, aka General Shaw. Mega transporters. They can transport really big things like vehicles and Zords and giant station-like enemy ships. The plan is to hit 2 cans with 1 BB. Use the mega transporters to transport the Squidrill directly into the main prison complex. Assuming that this doesn't, kill anyone, Tarek says that it will overload the shielding of the prison complex, allowing all the prisoners to escape. The Squidrill itself will also be presumably damaged, if not outright destroyed, taking down the anti-Zord force field.
I love it when a plan comes together.
However, they are going to need a distraction so the mega transporters can get set up. Zato says, hey, I'm good at distractions. Anybody want to see a magic trick? Ion says, ooh, I do. Over here with Solon, where we can talk about it. Okay, so cool, using magic, that's fantastic. This could kill you. Do you understand that? Zato gives us basically the double whammy of what's really dealing with a terminal illness. His life, whatever remains of it, is his to use as he sees fit, and he doesn't want them to tell the other Rangers, so they can focus on the fight against Lord Zed. Ion and Solon reluctantly agree to both. Lord Zed must come first. Your alphabet has been rearranged. Learn your ZYXs at any re-education facility. Okay, that was pretty funny. Tarek signals Zato that it's time for the distraction, and quite a distraction it is. Zato makes Solon grow giant-sized. She stomps around, though really kind of just in place, because she can't move out of range of Zato's beam that's doing this. I've got to say, there's some really good dry humor from the Sentinels in this episode, asking if Solon is one of theirs, or going up to the giant Solon and asking her for identification. Ion puts the transporters in place and the entire plan goes off without a hitch, though Zato does once again collapse from the strain. The prison's open and we see the people rushing out, and not only are none of them former Rangers, we don't even see anybody that we know at first. Interestingly enough, we see Tarek defeat 2 of the Sentinels, and they're destroyed for, I think, the first time on screen. They shatter into pieces like glass.
I fall to pieces.
However, the Cosmic Fury Rangers were being held in this particular prison, so we see them escaping last. Well, not quite last, but anyway. However, it turns out the Garcias were also being held in that prison, and Amelia sees Pop Pop, who was helping with the evacuation, so the families reunite for a minute. Fern's family is apparently being held somewhere else, or maybe they were never in prison to begin with and they're just obeying. So she asks Ion about Zato, though he just says that that's a long story, of course. Are you heroes ready for a deep cut from the Cosmic/Dino Fury's own continuity? Escaping with the Garcias is Lily, Izzy's cousin, once again played by Special Olympics athlete Sarah Dalton. That's incredibly random on one hand, but such a cool deep-cut little touch on the other. Warden Garcia notices Javi's arm. He basically says that he'll explain it later, and everyone's okay with this. Tarek says they need to clear the streets before Zed's reinforcements show up. Javi and Izzy volunteer to stay and help get more people out of the prisons. And everyone's just okay with that too, just saying they better get that explanation later. Billy brings out the last 3 prisoners from the particular facility that we've been looking at. One of them is Heckle. The other 2 are Jane and Jayborg. Jayborg films Billy saying they need to leave now, and the 2 race off to the editing suite. I cannot tell you how little I have missed those 2. Squillia, Amwizo, and a copy guard arrive, and I'm calling it right now, the copy guard is there to grow giant for the Zord fight. Kind of a cute and interesting line from Amwizo as he wonders what kind of monster releases prisoners. I mean, obviously they're the bad guys, but there's a twisted kind of logic to being confused about that. Squillia asks Heckle if these are his friends. He asks her if she'd like to know what having friends is like. As even Amwizo points out, that's brutal, but only a taste of the burn they're about to feel. The Cosmic Fury Rangers morph, giving us Fern's first morphing sequence. Interestingly enough, it's not just Solon that she flies through to morph, but an actual looking dinosaur, kind of looking similar to a velociraptor, just with a frilled neck like Solon has. A little disappointingly, Billy and especially Heckle get instamorphs. I have complained in the past about how awkwardly Billy's morphing sequence was inserted with the others, but couldn't we have gotten a full morphing sequence for Heckle?
Disappointed!
We get a nice line pan down the entire group of Rangers, which, among just being cool in its own right, also showcases that Izzy's helmet has these little gold scratch marks near the cheeks. Thought that was kind of cool. Everyone says Cosmic Fury Power. Even Billy and Heckle, who are Mighty Morphin and Dino Charge Rangers. The first Ranger in the fight to get individual focus is Fern, very nice, who realizes that her weapon has a chain function where the ends come apart with a chain in the middle, just like in that art I told you about. Squillia, of course, fights Heckle, saying that nobody blindsides her and gets away with it. Then Tarek blindside kicks her. Cute. Billy points out that the reinforcements for the enemies just seem to keep coming, and they should cut them off at the source by destroying the squid drill. Amelia likes that idea, gathering her team together and summoning the lion, shark, chameleon, and wolf Zords. Yes, 4 Zords. There are 5 Rangers present.
Man's practicing fuzzy math again.
And yeah, I called it. Squillia tells the copy guard to get big and destroy the Zords. You see, in this weird kind of adaptation / original story that we're doing this year, we're not using any of Q Ranger's monsters. So all of the Zord fight footage is against grunt types that they can work into this original story. Scuttleworms, copy guards, etc. Suddenly, the Phoenix and Scorpion Zords are there, despite not having been summoned, but it's not like it really matters because Amelia destroys both the Copy Guard and the Squid Drill with her Lion Zord alone. Tarek faces off with Wiseau, who declares that he's not even a ranger. This is going to be too easy. Then there's that stereotypical ninja movie thing where the two run at each other. There's a slash. They both stop. There's a still, quiet moment. And then Wiseau explodes. Too easy, Tarek mocks. And you know what? He's right. That was too easy. What?
That was easy.
Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not sad that Wiseau was destroyed. He served pretty much no purpose in this story. I guess you could say disrupting Heckle's spy plan, but seriously, Squilia's mother could have done that. And okay, I guess the squid drill wasn't destroyed, as the Zords are still blasting it until it turns into a giant robot. The Rangers form the Cosmic Fury Megazord, though all we see of this is the lion's head turning, which weirdly we hadn't seen before, but also is a very quick way of forming the Megazord. I guess it was cut for time. Lion, Phoenix, Scorpion, Chameleon, Wolf. Not all 5 of the Zords were originally summoned, but we have seen all 5 of them on the battlefield. It gets a pass. The Rangers declare the Cosmic Fury Megazord ready with 6 minutes and 26 seconds remaining in the episode. The Squid Drill battle mode explodes with 6 minutes even left in the episode. 26 friggin' seconds. I realized that there was more Zord content overall in this episode, but still, the Megazord fight didn't even last 30 seconds.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Amelia declares there's only 1 squid drill left for them to defeat, and okay, now I am officially confused. They only ever established that there was 1 squid drill in Pine Ridge. Does she mean there's only 1 left, period? I could maybe believe that if the past Rangers were freed and got into their Megazords, but that's never even mentioned, let alone seen.
It just raises too many questions.
Back on the ground, they finish off the Sentinels, and it was really satisfying seeing Billy beat Squilia into defeat. She has been a very annoying character. For some reason, instead of destroying her, they decide to capture her with sleeping cuffs, which I guess Tarek just kept from his time as Void Knight. Back with the Zords, the Shark, which was also there, basically just kamikazes itself into the squid drill. I mean, it survives, of course, but it just rams into the thing, and then the Cosmic Mega Blast makes it all splodified. The Zords come apart, and 2 of them fly away. A solid 10 seconds or so that we could have added to the Megazord fight instead. The wrap-up to this episode oddly feels kind of like a finale, even though it's not one. I suppose you could say it's sort of like a mid-season finale, but this is episode 7 out of 10, whatever. The Rangers celebrate with hot chocolate, having parked the base ship basically exactly where it was before, except it's above ground now instead of below ground. It turns out Fern does have parents because she's got a whole bunch of missed voicemails. The phones actually lead to a nice little touch that also has a little bit of a misstep to it. You see, their phone cases all mostly match their colors. Fern's phone case is not orange. That's a nice touch. Amelia's phone case is red, when really it should be pink. Oops, The Resistance calls in, Billy working with them for the time being. Pine Ridge has been completely secured and cleared of enemy forces, but the work's not done yet. There's more prisons to liberate, presumably the ones where those other Rangers are. They've got to find the Morphin Masters and just generally deal with Zed and Squid Ink on a universal level. What might help with that is any information they can get from the captured Squilia. Let's gaze at the stars. Episode 7, Operation Seasoning. Pros, Heckle gets to be a ranger, there's a real sense of the stakes involved, and Zato's struggle with his situation. Cons, the episode struggles with its tone. The main drama of the episode comes from getting the plan wrong and rushed Zord footage. This is an episode I really liked, but there was a little too much wrong with it for me to give it a great score. Operation Seasoning gets 3.75 stars out of 5. I'm telling you, heroes, during Dino Charge, those of us that had seen Kyoryuger were just waiting for the moment when they revealed the Dark/Navy or whatever Ranger, especially when we heard that we were going to get the Spinosaurus Zord. They didn't do it then, and spoilers, they're not going to do it again for the rest of this series, but for this one episode, the Dark Dino Charge Ranger is officially TV canon. Again, the comic story describing how he gets these powers is one of the only good things to come from Beyond the Grid, and funny enough, it's a flashback, so technically speaking, it doesn't even take place in Beyond the Grid's story, and nothing in this episode contradicts it, though in the comic story, he does use a gun morpher like Xeno Wings, and in this, he uses the boomerang to morph. Is there a Dino Charger in there? This pro kind of goes right alongside and sort of contradicts a con, but one of the things that I'm really enjoying about this story is they've done an excellent job of establishing the stakes. Lord Zed, by the way, Lord Zed isn't in this episode, and neither is Ollie, so now the only actor that has been in every episode of Dino Fury/Cosmic Fury is Hunter Dino. Lord Zed has taken over the Earth, basically almost practically won. Now, we don't get to see much of what that means, but what we do get to see is pretty good. Most of the population has been in prison, and you have the loudspeaker voice announcing all the new rules and stuff. The rebellion is hiding out in shabby, run-down buildings, having to run secret operations to make their plans work. The little bits we've gotten are pretty fantastic. Russell Curry's acting over these 3 seasons has been, to be honest, a little bit up and down. But in dealing with this whole storyline where he has increasing weakness and fatigue over using magic, knowing that his time could be limited and every exertion makes that time even shorter, he's been fantastic. Honestly, I've never really been a fan of please don't tell them, I don't want to burden them type storylines. Your friends are always going to want to know about your troubles, even with whatever they're dealing with. But it is a very real emotion. I've felt it myself, and he conveys the tone of it very well. Here's where the other shoe from that pro that I mentioned earlier drops. This storyline has a great dark tone to it, and this episode conveys aspects of that really well. But then we're joking while we're rushing to the Zords to save the planet. Fern is joking about all these buttons she gets to push. That is something I said I was going to mention later, and here it is. Fern is the first official TV Orange Ranger, so of course, I love her to death already. But Fern is very oddly written. You get the feeling that Fern is not taking any of this seriously. And of course, I would be giddy to not just be a Power Ranger, but the Orange Ranger personally. But it's about saving the world. There's a lot of seriousness to it, and I don't get any of that from her performance or the lines that she's been written to read. I get that you're trying to balance seriousness for the adult fans and comedy for the younger fans, but think of it like this. I don't like balancing the seesaw of tone by putting huge weights on both absolute ends of the seesaw. You have to balance things up. Balance the weights in the middle. Balance things up all throughout the seesaw. Don't just do things to both extremes. And actually, another con that addresses the tone of the episode as its most super serious dramatic moment is absolutely kneecapped by the cause of it being the Rangers forgetting their own plan. At the start of the episode, the plan is described that the 2 Megazords are going to wait outside the Zord force field until it falls, and they get confirmation of that and they can head on in. In execution, they just fly the Megazords towards the planet and hope that Heckle pulls it off. There were no planetary defenses around Earth for whatever reason. There was no reason for them to just not sit and wait. And please do not give me Ion's line about gravity pulling them down. I know that the Zord's thrusters are strong enough to overcome the pull of gravity, and if for whatever reason they're that weak, stay far enough back that gravity's not pulling you down. Billy would be able to calculate exactly where that point is. And I realize that this is a symptom of what I explained earlier about the Megazords only being able to fight grunts because of the story, but the Zord fights are just so unsatisfyingly short in Cosmic Fury. 26 seconds doesn't sound like it's all that short, but to demonstrate, I started a 26-second timer at the start of this take, and as you can tell, it is! The Rangers blocked one shot, punch, punch, finishing move. I want more out of the Zords. In the end, this was an episode that felt like it was so close to being fantastic, but it was held back by this sense that they were really trying to write a fantastic story while ignoring technical aspects that are really the screws that need to be tightened in order to have a fantastic story. I was entertained. I was equally annoyed. Let's take a peek at the 8th episode of Cosmic Fury, Switching Sides. Two ex-villains should be the last people to cure Ollie, but Ion has a plan that just might work. Meanwhile, Zato's secret becomes harder to hide. That's going to wrap up another Power Rangers Cosmic Fury episode review. Thank you, heroes, so much as always for watching, and again, for your patience. I know it's taken me a long time to get these videos out reviewing this little 10-episode series that's all already out there. If it's any consolation, I can say that I have made my decision about the future of this channel going forward. I'm not going to tell you what it is just yet, but I have made that decision, so you at least have something else to look forward to at the end. If you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you'd head right down below and hit that thumbs up button. While you're down there, leave me a comment letting me know what you thought of this episode, as well as my review of it, whether you're able to ignore the more technical aspects that they should really more finely tune in light of a pretty dramatic and good story, whether those little badly timed comedic moments annoy you as much as they annoy me. Let me know all of that down in the comments below, etc., etc., etc. And until next time, heroes, may the power protect you. But on a happier note, last time the franchise crossed a significant let's spice things up. Or they are going to Squillia's tentacle. Tarek says that the shielding the Cosmic Fury Rangers morph, giving us Fern's full name. Then we're talking about Mimima. Two ex-villains should be the last people to cure. Last? Thank you so much, as always, for watching, and I forget about what I say at the end.